Welcome to the Fine Year, a month-by-month YouTube presentation about the birding big year I made in 2019. This presentation covers November of that year, in which I traveled north through several beautiful California locations up to the top of the state, even drifting a little bit into Oregon. Hopefully you'll find this entertaining or perhaps inspiring. Maybe you'll attempt your own big year. In this presentation, I'll briefly discuss the birding sites I visited and show some of the better quality photographs I took. Even if a big year is beyond your scope, hopefully you'll be able to visit some of these sites. One spot near home I like to visit is Ormond Beach, which is down by the sod farms in Oxnard. It's not super pretty, but it does seem to attract interesting birds. Blue-gray gnatcatchers are always doing something interesting. This white-tailed kite was terribly backlit with a fence between us, so I couldn't change position. We don't seem to get as many kites down here in SoCal since the drought in the mid-2010s. A sorrel was patrolling its turf around the irrigation channel. I only see them about a quarter of my visits there, but they're always possible. The mounded earth around the sod fields attracts numerous prairie-type birds, such as horned larks and pipits, various sparrows, and today, this killdeer. This starling had its showy plumage on, so even though I usually don't like them, I'll include it. I made a day trip out to Mount Pinos, hoping to find a white-headed woodpecker. I saw one flying away, but I had better luck capturing this pygmy nuthatch. Earlier in the year, I had heard, but not seen, band-tailed pigeons in Arizona. It was nice to actually see one here in California. Finally, it was time for the big trip of the month. I headed north towards Klamath. I drove through the Sequoia National Forest to get over the Sierras and found this Townsend solitaire. I found a flock of about 20 Clark's nutcrackers in the National Forest also. I had never seen flocking behavior from them, so that was interesting. After crossing the mountains, I spent some time in Sequoia National Park. This Steller's jay checked me out, more colorful and less shy than the ones I'd seen in Colorado. Another national park bird that I'd also seen in Colorado was this brown creeper. Well, not the same one. This little mountain chickadee stopped at the creek side for a drink. The first time I recall seeing a chickadee in a creek. After getting through the mountains, I was down in the valley with the National Wildlife Refuges. Here at Merced was a pretty black-necked stilt. Sandhill cranes were beginning to gather in the fields and around the marshes for the winter. This black phoebe is the first leucistic bird I can recall seeing. I like to call him a white-black phoebe. Finally, at Merced, I was able to track down some snow geese. I wasn't really looking for them so much, but rather their companion Ross's goose. Those were new for the year, although not a lifer. This isn't the best loggerhead shrike photo, but I liked seeing the grasshopper stuck on the barbed wire. I'd heard of them doing this before, but I'd never seen an example. Now I have. Yellow-billed magpies are a specialty of Central California. That's a new bird for the year. Puda Creek runs west of Davis. I can never resist taking photos of these male hooded mergansers displaying. This western bluebird had to hover to reach the berries in the trees along Puda Creek. Here's the bird that was the real object of desire on my visit to Puda Creek, the Pacific wren. This one was very active and jumped out to defend its turf when my daughter and I began exploring the riverbank. Before taking off for Klamath, my daughter and I took a hike in the mountains toward Lake Tahoe. On the Loch Levin Trail, I finally got my white-headed woodpecker photo. One of the first birds to greet me at the lower Klamath Basin was this ferruginous hawk. It was just one of what seemed to be 1,000 raptors. Every tree or fence post seemed to hold one. This immature red-tailed hawk landed in a field near me. I hope it caught what it was after. The bald eagles stuck to the larger trees. It was a little early for them to be hunting geese. My understanding is February is the best month for that. This red-shafted flicker greeted me one morning at Tule Lake. Tule Lake and the lower Klamath Basin are next-door neighbors, so there's plenty of ground and water to hold all the birds. I accidentally cornered this mule deer on a little peninsula out into Klamath Lake. I moved off to one side, though, so it could walk quietly by me. There were several Bonaparte's gulls feeding in the reeds in the marshes. No blackhead this time of year. This northern harrier glared at me while I took her picture, but the car made an effective blind, so she didn't fly off. The rough-legged hawk was my main target for the Klamath visit. I had not seen one for over 20 years, and I really wanted it for the year. Luckily, I saw several. Buffleheads always seem to make for good photos. They're one of my favorite ducks. This pied-billed grebe looked almost like a red-necked grebe, except for its bill. I'd not seen a pied-billed grebe with this much red before, but that's what it has to be. I don't have many, in fact hardly any, good golden eagle pictures, and this is the only photo I got of one this year. It's always special to see one. I saw lots of pheasants at the wildlife refuges during my stay, but most of them were flying away from me. I finally got a decent photo of this one before the sunset. One afternoon, I made a quick trip into Oregon for some lunch in Klamath Falls. At the entrance to town, a bridge crosses the Link River, which held some beautiful ducks. This Barrow's goldeneye was the first male I'd ever seen up close. There were several common goldeneyes in the Link River, too, along with the Barrows. As I said earlier, I just can't resist showing you a displaying male hooded merganser. Finally, I stopped at one of the small lakes on the way back to the wildlife refuges in California. I'm not really sure if this eared grebe is in Oregon nor California. This nice trip up to Klamath had put some good birds on my list, greatly helping my year totals. I was up to 598 ABA-ish birds for the year, and my list of new ABA area birds had grown to 99. This really took the pressure off December, almost ensuring a happy ending to the year. Really, I already had that, for I had exceeded my modest goals back in August. I made reservations to visit the Salineno area of Texas, where I was moderately confident of 2 or 3 lifers. And I still had the snowy owl hunt in front of me as well. Life was looking very fine indeed.